$250,000. That is what it cost to build Annie Lytle Elementary School in Jacksonville, Florida in 1917. A fireproof Neoclassical Revival brick schoolhouse with grand columns, a large auditorium, and impressive staircases sitting across from Riverside Park on one of the most beautiful streets in the city. For 4 decades, it educated the children of a growing Florida neighborhood. Then the federal government built an interstate highway interchange directly next to it. The noise was so loud, teachers could not be heard in class. The school closed in 1960. And then the legends started. A cannibal principal who stored children in a meat locker. A janitor who boiled students alive in the boiler room. Satanic rituals in the basement. None of it is true. But here is what is true. The building is still standing, still open to the elements, and for over 60 years nobody has agreed on what to do with it. This is not just a story about a school. It is a story about what a highway does to a neighborhood, what a neighborhood does with the ruins, and what happens when the legend of a place becomes more powerful than its history. In 1891, the Riverside neighborhood of Jacksonville was expanding rapidly along the St. Johns River. To educate the growing community's children, Duval County built a small, boxy wooden schoolhouse known as the Riverside Park School. It was designated as the 4th public school in the county, a humble structure that stood in sharp contrast to the massive brick monument that would eventually take its place. The shift in the city's civic architecture came on May 3, 1901. A devastating fire broke out at a local fiber factory and quickly swept through downtown Jacksonville. Within hours, the Great Fire destroyed more than 140 city blocks, consuming 2,368 buildings and leaving 10,000 residents homeless. While the wooden Riverside Park School somehow survived the flames, the sheer scale of the catastrophe permanently changed the city's approach to public safety. Jacksonville leaders realized that if children were to be educated, they had to be protected by brick and concrete, not housed in dry wood. By 1915, public pressure culminated in a massive $1 million school bond approved by Duval County voters. The bond aimed to construct more than a dozen modern, fireproof schoolhouses across the district, and the aging wooden public school number 4 was placed at the very top of the list. The county hired architect Rutledge Holmes, a designer who had arrived in Jacksonville during the post-fire building boom. Holmes rejected the idea that a school should be a cheap, utilitarian box. Instead, he designed the replacement using grand, Neoclassical Revival architecture, a visual style typically reserved for courthouses, banks, and government buildings. His blueprints argued that public education was a cornerstone of democracy, deserving of the same architectural dignity as the halls of justice. Construction began in 1917 and finished in 1918 at a cost of $250,000. The massive replacement measured 46,000 square feet, constructed entirely of red brick and thick, poured concrete interior structural elements. Inside, it featured a grand auditorium with a stage, wide double-flight staircases, and classrooms oriented specifically to face the green expanse of Riverside Park, allowing natural light to flood the learning spaces. High above the main entrance, Holmes placed a permanent stone inscription, Public School Number 4. It was a bold declaration to the community that public education was an essential civic asset, built beautifully to endure. Annie Lytle Housh was born on December 31, 1871, in Yellow Springs, Ohio. She moved to Jacksonville as a young woman, stepping into a classroom at the original wooden Riverside Park School to begin teaching at just 18 years old. Her life quickly became entirely bound to the campus's daily existence. In 1914, she took over as principal, a demanding leadership position she would hold for the next 35 years, guiding the school through its transition from that dangerous wooden structure to the grand brick monument designed by Rutledge Holmes. Under her watch, Public School Number 4 operated with clockwork precision and a strict, unyielding routine. Housh earned a reputation as an uncompromising disciplinarian who valued order above all else. Every morning, she wound up a Victrola in the front hall to play John Philip Sousa's Stars and Stripes Forever. Students were required to line up outside and march to their classrooms in perfect synchronization with the brassy music echoing through the corridors. For decades, every single child who passed through those doors began their morning to the exact same rhythm. By 1927, this highly structured environment housed the second largest elementary school student body in Duval County, with 775 children filled into its classrooms. Though Housh retired in 1949, the community's genuine respect for her did not fade. In the early 1950s, the Duval County School Board officially renamed the building Annie Lytle Elementary School, a rare living tribute to an educator who had spent her entire career serving the neighborhood's families. Annie Lytle Housh died on February 21, 1957, at the age of 85. She passed away in Jacksonville, completely unaware of the physical isolation that would soon threaten her school, and never knowing that the civic monument bearing her name would eventually be abandoned to the elements, vandalized and feared as the Devil's School. The destruction of Annie Lytle Elementary was caused by concrete, steel, and asphalt, born from the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956. During the late 1950s, Jacksonville planning engineers mapped out the massive interchange connecting Interstate 95 and Interstate 10. Instead of bypassing the residential core of the Riverside and Brooklyn neighborhoods, planners routed the raised highway directly through them, displacing families and slicing through dense residential blocks. This engineering path ran straight toward Public School Number 4. Construction of the interchange placed the multi-lane expressway a mere 100 feet from the school's western facade. The physical environment that gave the schoolhouse its purpose was instantly severed. Before the highway, the school sat in harmony with the community, its large second-story windows looking out over the green canopy of Riverside Park. Children walked to school along tree-lined neighborhood streets and crossed a pedestrian footbridge directly into the park. The interstate construction dismantled this connection. Massive concrete support pillars consumed a large portion of Riverside Park, replacing green spaces with roaring underpasses. The pedestrian bridge was demolished, the school's front entrance drive was cut off, and the massive overpass structures cast a permanent shadow over the red brick facade. The isolation was matched by severe environmental disruption. The classrooms on the second floor, designed to catch natural light and air, now faced a constant wall of traffic. The roar of engines, trucks, and horns just yards away created an inescapable barrier of noise. Teachers could not speak over the deafening sounds of the highway, and the soot from thousands of passing vehicles began settling on the brickwork. The surrounding neighborhood saw a 30% drop in household counts as families fled the construction zone. This physical siege sealed the school's fate. In 1960, the Duval County School Board officially acknowledged that the school was no longer viable. With families fleeing the surrounding neighborhood and highway noise constantly drowning out lessons, student enrollment collapsed. The school board voted to permanently halt academic operations, ending 42 years of elementary education on the site. Almost overnight, the grand classrooms designed for natural light and fresh air were stripped of desks and chalkboards. For the next decade, the building was relegated to auxiliary storage and administrative office space for the school district. The grand auditorium, which once hosted neighborhood assemblies, became a quiet warehouse for surplus furniture, outdated textbooks, and school board paperwork. This administrative afterlife ended in 1971. The city of Jacksonville officially condemned the property, citing growing maintenance deficiencies and structural safety hazards. Boarded up and locked, the school entered a state of permanent vacancy. What remained of its original park setting sat entirely in the shadow of roaring concrete overpasses. On paper, the school's civic purpose was officially erased, leaving a massive brick monument standing vacant at the edge of the interstate. The silence inside the darkened classrooms did not last long. Following the school's condemnation in 1971, the empty brick shell became an irresistible magnet for Jacksonville's youth. Teenagers slipped through broken windows and pried open boarded doors, stepping into a quiet, shadowed world that felt entirely removed from the roaring interstate outside. This practice of exploring abandoned sites to test one's bravery, known as legend tripping, transformed the decaying structure into the city's premier destination for local folklore. Over the next several decades, the school became a blank canvas for collective anxieties, with rumors accumulating in thick, overlapping layers of storytelling. These myths did not originate from a single source. Instead, they grew organically, changing with each generation of trespassers who sought a thrill in the dark. The most persistent legend claimed that a catastrophic boiler explosion had killed dozens of children during the school's operational years. Over time, the tale grew more sinister, morphing into a story about a deranged janitor who allegedly locked students inside the subterranean boiler room and boiled them alive. The most outrageous variant even invented a cannibalistic principal who supposedly kept a meat locker hidden within an office closet to store her victims. These fabricated horrors, passed down through late-night dares and schoolyard whispers, gradually replaced the true history of Public School Number 4, turning a monument of civic pride into a stage for nightmares. During the height of the 1980s and the 1990s satanic panic, these stories took on a darker, occult theme. Trespassing teenagers spray-painted pentagrams and inverted crosses across the decaying plaster, leaving behind physical markings that subsequent visitors treated as proof of genuine devil worship. Local author and historian Tim Gilmore traced the school's infamous satanic reputation back to a specific group of teenagers who painted a first-floor room with stylized flames, mockingly dubbing it the Hell Room. Yet, these sensational claims collapse when confronted with actual records. A systematic search of Duval County death registers, coroner reports, and school district logs reveals 0 student or staff fatalities occurred at Public School Number 4 during its decades of academic operation. Furthermore, official maintenance records show the mechanical boiler was regularly inspected and remained entirely intact, completely debunking the explosion myth. The physical building, isolated by the highway and choked by overgrowth, became a silent vessel for modern folklore, absorbing the anxieties of a changing city. The isolation that fed these local myths also left the brick school completely defenseless. For decades, the doors remained unsecured, transforming the classrooms into an open gateway for trespassers, metal scrappers, and vandals. Every single window pane was eventually smashed or stolen, exposing the grand neoclassical interior to the elements. With the outer shell compromised, water intrusion systematically dismantled the structure from the inside out. Rainwater rotted the decorative plaster, rusted the steel supports, and pooled across the concrete classroom floors. This vulnerability spiked every October when Halloween nights brought waves of teenagers breaking past the perimeter fence. But the most devastating blow occurred on January 17, 2012, when an arsonist set fire to the vacant auditorium. The blaze tore through the core of the building, causing the roof of the grand assembly space to collapse completely. The fire destroyed the school's most significant historical interior, leaving the concrete skeleton exposed to the sky. What was engineered to be entirely fireproof in 1917 was slowly dissolved by decades of water, rot, and human neglect. In 1999, Foundation Holding Incorporated purchased the property with plans to construct the Lytle Place condominiums, reportedly selling several units before construction was scheduled to begin. The threat of demolition sparked public outrage from neighborhood volunteers, prompting the Jacksonville City Council to intervene. In 2000, the council designated the school a historic landmark, halting demolition and collapsing the developer's plans. This designation protected the brick shell, but did nothing to fund its structural recovery. Seeking to prevent complete decay, the Annie Lytle Preservation Group formally organized in 2005. For years, these dedicated volunteers performed the heavy, unpaid labor of securing fences, clearing the collapsed auditorium ceiling, and hauling away mounds of trash. They repeatedly swept the classrooms and painted over fresh graffiti to keep the site viable for future investors. Yet every subsequent proposal, including residential conversion, artist studios, and a community center, failed to secure financing. As volunteer Brett Nolan observed, "None of those stories is true. It is just absolutely folklore. The only thing scary in this building is the damage people have done to it over the years." In 2024, the brick shell of Public School Number 4 remains vacant in Jacksonville's Brooklyn neighborhood, wedged beneath the roaring lanes of the highway interchange. Its grand neoclassical columns face concrete overpasses rather than a green park. Because of its historic landmark status, the school cannot be demolished, yet no buyer has committed the massive investment required to rebuild it. While volunteers work to slow the deterioration, they cannot restore the structure. The building functions as an unresolved monument, suspended between verified history and the persistent myths of the Devil's School. The interstate traffic continues, the folklore spreads, and the ruins of Annie Lytle's school simply stand, waiting in the shadow of the highway. Today, the school remains trapped in concrete, a monument to our preference for scary stories over uncomfortable truths. The monsters we invent in the dark are far easier to face than the systemic neglect that actually destroyed this community. Until we value preservation over folklore, more history will rot in plain sight. What do you think of this tragic landmark? Share your thoughts below.